Welcome to the Model Rail Replacement Podcast, helping you get to your onward journey. A friendly service that helps you get from A to B, or probably nowhere at all.
Hello and welcome to the Model Rail Replacement Podcast. It's 2025. It's 200 years of railways. So we thought we'd celebrate by having a whistle off. I'm your host, James, and with me is co-host and producer
Bam!
How are you?
I am wonderful. How are you?
I'm not too bad. I'm not too bad. Do you have a nice Christmas?
I did. Exhausting. You and I were talking about like how we need this break in order to we wouldn't be able to record and do the stuff that you do at Christmas because everyone's around. And I'm glad that we didn't because I'm exhausted. Like going back to work to recuperate that and having flu just after we got through New Year, and then my daughter got it, then my wife got it, and then on the Saturday night, I think I went to bed at about 8 o'clock. I was rough. So yeah, but we're all much better now. How about you?
That's good. There's a lot of cold and illness and COVID and going around, but it wasn't as bad as my family, where my nephew brought home neurovirus.
Ooh.
So they can stay away in the other county as far as I'm concerned until they're all better. But yeah, no, I was mostly working over Christmas. My roster is very much against me from Christmas until next Christmas. For anything I want to do. So yeah, I was mostly at work, but when I wasn't, it was a very nice Christmas. But a little bit of modelling done, but not much. Didn't really do much. Is apparently you have to spend time with the family and stuff like that. Oh, I don't know who made these rules up, but that's the way it is. So yeah, all good. Otherwise, I've started on the 009 layout. Yeah, I'm recording episodes as we speak, but everything's all a bit jumbled up. So where I am in recording episode, I'm not sure because I'm not sure how I'm going to edit it together. But so far, I've almost finished the engine shed. I bought the signal box off Buckles Kelly Station, the platform one. That's been painted for the interior. I think I still need to paint the exterior for that one, and I need to lay the track as well. But yeah, all good otherwise. And yourself?
Yeah, I've been doing 009 stuff as well, so much so that it's become a small little obsession in my life.
And it will remain that way.
Yeah, it's a you and I were talking beforehand. It's a very lovely scale gauge, or whatever you want to say. Modeling narrow gauge in 00 scale is a fun I didn't know I needed in life. The fact of how much you can fit into such a small space is incredible. I've also increased my fleet of 009 locos. So in last season, you and I did a call out. I was like, I need some 009 Quarry Hunslets. And just after Christmas, I had a plethora of people saying, "Oh, I know someone who's got one. Oh, I know someone who's got one." And I do have to give a little shout out to Colin Oldham, who sorted me out with not only a Britomart 009 Quarry Hunslet, but also gave me some rolling stock for free as well. So, Colin, outdoor underscore Coco on Instagram, thank you very much for your generosity. And I can't wait to see the layout that he's planning to do over the next year or so. But yeah, I did promise that I'd give a little shout out because I was so blown away. I opened it up expecting just the little loco, and then there was two 009 coaches and then a 009 little wagon as well. I was like, oh, thanks very much.
Say what?
Yeah. The generosity of our fans. Thank you, Colin.
I haven't seen any of this stuff. It's always you.
You see, you claim that you're the favorite. You claim that everyone loves you more.
I get nothing. Nothing. So yeah, if you're feeling guilty, my address is. So we are. Ah, it's all good then. It's all good. Yeah, I'm glad you've got the 009 bug, and it is, I think, the perfect scale in the sense that if you are limited for space, but you don't have the eyesight for Engage, it works out just right because you've got the footprint of what is essentially an N gauge layout, but you can model in OO gauge, so your eyes aren't as strained as much. And as we were sort of saying just before we start recording, is that people say, "Oh, N gauge is great because you can build the railway in the scenery." And the trouble with sometimes with the scenery is that that's a lot of scenery to do and a lot of modeling, and modeling very small. Sometimes you probably get fatigued of it or a bit tired of it, and it can and sometimes it can just sort of blur as and it sort of gets lost in what it's supposed to be. Whereas obviously 009 is that slightly bigger environment that you can add that bit more detail to. But yeah, I'm glad you've got the 009 bug. All you need to do now is join the 009 Society, where you can take advantage of their second-hand shop for one thing, and get the magazine and they have lovely little exhibitions that all the groups hold. So that's my recommendation to you there. And anyone else who's interested in 009, join the 009 Society. It's a great little society, and there's always a lovely magazine every month. Just nice little thing come through the post. Always very interesting articles. So, I know. Well, I am a member, I suppose, but anyway, yeah, I'm just promoting it as a member. There we go. Um, right. Well, as it was Christmas, there has been no news. Not I can think of anyway. So
I don't think
yeah,
there's
I
been
think
anything worth mentioning.
no, I don't know. Lots of the Christmassy sales, I think. But obviously that's too late to tell you about now. I think most of them sort of ran short. The best one I saw was TMC offering the Hornby 9F Black Prince at a very reasonable price of 149. So I've got one. Um, and yeah, it's interesting. Compare it to the Bachmann model and the differences between them and everything like that. So you don't realise how far the fireman's got to reach to the tender on the Bachmann loco until you put it next to the Hornby loco. You're like, man, he'd fall to his death.
I do remember
Yeah.
something that we did have to discuss. Obviously, our last episode of last season was our large overweight quiz of the year. I think for the 500th time, I've got that wrong. But effectively, I just wanted to say a massive thank you to anybody who donated to the cause of the All Aboard Club. At the time of me checking, uh, we raised over £150 towards the All Aboard Club. So anybody who did donate, thank you very, very much. And anybody who wants to donate, drop James, myself, or the podcast a message, and we will direct you in the right way of how you can donate to it. And if you do donate, you get a video version of that lovely big fat quiz that we had at the end of the year as well that you can watch everybody's lovely faces. So a massive thank you to everyone on that one.
Yeah. I think the video version is better than the audio version as well. It's far more enjoyable, having seen them both back. So it's definitely something to go for. Go for the video version. Not that our audio version wasn't bad, but
We talked about video versions of the podcast, and I think that's something that James and I have talked about off camera. And I know Tom from Buggles Kelly said that it would be a good idea to start doing it, but that's something way down the line that we don't need to worry about
yeah,
just yet.
I did. I did. Well, obviously, I lost a subscriber because they weren't happy with the podcast just keep popping up on my YouTube channel feed. And I don't know, maybe a visual of the YouTube on the YouTube channel might have enticed them to stay. But yeah, maybe we'll do a video in the future. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe people can let us know their thoughts. Or also, I know what we need to talk about. We know we're 12 people away from hitting 1,000 followers on Instagram.
Are we really?
Oh, indeed. Well, as of when I looked last time, it may be even less.
Let me have a
Who
look.
knows? Who knows? But yeah, it's getting ever closer to t-shirt giveaway time. So there's something else for people.
10 people away.
10. There we
Yep.
go. 10 people away from a t-shirt being given out. So yeah, if you're not following us on Instagram, go find us. So yeah, as we discussed, there wasn't really any much news. Obviously, there was a few sales over Christmas, and I'm sure lots of people got lots of lovely presents, etc. I suppose the only announcement was Hornby announcing that they will be announcing some locos. Well, as of this, when this episode comes out tomorrow. So yeah, there's that to look forward to. So we thought we'd talk about a little bit about that later. But as we mentioned, there may be some of you that sort of stumbled across the podcast. You so happen to find us. You've never listened to us before because you got a train set for Christmas, and you're wondering where to start. Now, the likelihood of you finding a podcast for information is probably very slim, but if you're on YouTube, you might have come across us. So we just thought we'd just have a little chat and say, welcome to the hobby. What do you think you need to do next? So, Sam, you've got yourself a new train set for Christmas. You're not sure what you're going to do with it. Where are you going to go? What are you going to do? Do you know?
So my advice, first of all, is in, invest in some points. I'm saying this out right now. Do not, whatever you do not buy any of Hornby's points. Save yourself some hassle in the long run, a little bit of pennies, and go for the Pico non-set track points. They say streamline, they will fit with your train sets track. Let's just clarify that right now. James, I think you could probably agree with me that that is the most solid investment that you can make, or the best don't purchase this out of everything, right?
Yeah, there was definitely some experience in those words there.
Having on the old layout thrown away probably 10 express points by the time the layout came back up. That I'm sorry, there are things of Hornby's that I do think are really good and are worth the money, but I can tell you right now that Hornby's express points and Hornby's normal set track points, unless you got them free in your train set, do not go out and spend your hard-earned money on them. I don't care how much they're going for in a bargain bin or how much they're going for on eBay. Do not purchase those points. Invest in some Pico, streamline points, anything that is medium radius or greater. Your train set will thank you further down the line. They're not that much more expensive than the small radius streamline points. You spend so much money on points on certain layouts and certain builds that if you buy them slowly over time, you'll thank yourself. But also a length of flexi track or two to expand your layout. I find that with a train set straight out the box, one of the most annoying things about it is that you can't have your whole train on one piece of straight generally. So let's say, for example, you get a loco with two coaches or a loco with three coaches, depending on which train set you purchase. You won't be able to fit all of that on one single piece of straight. So if you want to imagine that you've got a train station, the curves that come in the train set don't work so well towards it. So pick yourself up some flexi track, which can be straight, bent, however you want to do it. But I think that's a really good thing that you can invest in because I think they're just less than a fiver for one piece of flex track. So for £10, you could have 3 foot each. So one on each side if you've got a single line track. And at least then you can start looking at increasing it so that your train that you get in your train set all fits onto one straight piece of track. And that can then be used on sidings and things like that. So that's mine. Pico, streamline points, and flex track. What about you?
Well, if you're going to recommend those products, they also need to invest in rail joiners. So,
That's a really good shout.
but yes, yeah.
Go on, tell me I'm wrong. Go on, tell me I'm wrong about those points.
I've never had the express points, so I cannot venture an opinion on that one. But I have had the set track ones, and they do disintegrate after a period of time. So for a long-term investment, you probably do want to look at something like Pico, who also produce the components that you can add to your train set. Their set track points themselves are the same size as the Hornby ones, so they're interchangeable. You can swap them around if need be. I'd invest in a track plan book first of all. That's the first thing I'd say to anyone that wants to build a model railway, because you don't want it on the carpet. That's like rule number one. Anyone will tell you when you come into the hobby, you don't want to put your layout on the carpet, and that's because your locomotive is going to pick up all the dirt and the fluff off the floor. It's going to get into the mechanism, and you'll find that it soon stops working. And if you're quite new to the hobby, and maybe you are, some people are skilled, some people not, but generally, I think it takes time to learn how these models go together, and then trying to fix the loco yourself to find out why it doesn't work is probably a job that you don't want to dive straight into. It's probably going to put you off the hobby for that reason. So yeah, I look at getting a plan book and having an idea of where you're going to put your layout, where you're going to keep it, and there's all sorts of options of what you can go for. I'd never go for anything really big. It's so easy, and I think we talked about this before. to have that dream layout where you go, oh, I'm going to have a station here and a yard here and a shed here, and it's going to do this and do that. And then you realize that, hang on, that's going to cost me a lot of money. I don't have time. It's taking so long that you just don't get the satisfaction from a model railway that you would if you built something smaller and just started off with something a little bit simple. I think like a nice Inglenook shunting layout is probably a good start. Something like that. You just invest in, like Sam says, invest in a bit of streamlined track and some points. You might just need to get yourself some cutters, or if you've got a Dremel with a disc cutter, just so you can cut this track to size to fit in your baseboard. And you could look at something like that. And the advantage of if you were building something small like an Inglenook shunting puzzle, you can use other materials apart from wood. So obviously the most popular choice in building your layout or baseboard is using wood. And you can go out and you can buy the wood and you can build it yourself. There are plenty of videos on YouTube. That's the other place. There's going to be so many great videos on there to help you get started in the hobby. Lots of videos on YouTube on building woodwork and bench work. There's still different types that you can go for. It's a whole world. But a nice simple one would be, if you're just starting off, just start with a nice simple softwood frame with a plywood top and lay your track on that, and just have a go at just sort of the basics before advancing into something a little bit more deeper. But if your woodworking skills are not great, you can find companies that will build the baseboards for you. If you are a little bit more flush and you want someone to build it, there's companies out there that will build the layout for you. Neil from the Little Layout Company springs to mind. He came on the show a long time ago now. But yep, you can look around at things like that. Or one of the ones I'd recommend, if you just want to start cheap and just keep your train set off the carpet and you just want to build something basic, have a look at foam board that you can get 3 sheets about £12 off Hobbycraft. And they glues together. You can use like Yoo-hoo or copy decks, something like that, just to glue it together. Sandwich, if you're building a framework for it, sandwich the foam board together to make it a bit stronger. You can have a nice foam board top, and you could easily build a nice simple layout on top of that as a starter to sort of get you into the hobby. So yeah, that's my recommendations of where to start if you've got yourself a train set and you've entered this wonderful hobby.
I love the idea of the track plan book. Hadn't even thought of that. And it is that thing of plan before you start building things. And if memory serves, the Pico track plan book had some really good ones that start on really small scales or small ovals, but still look like a proper layout rather than a train set. So yeah, no, fantastic idea. I'm very jealous. I
Yeah.
didn't think of that.
Yeah, with the Pico ones, if you're looking for the track plan book, they have various copies of track plan books. They've got some A5 style ones which are written by CJ Freezer. Those I would recommend once you're more established in the hobby, as they sort of require a little bit more skill in regards to track laying and baseboard building. But the set track plan books that Pico produce, they're probably on their 5th version for OO gauge off the top of my head. They are great plan books. They give you some great ideas, and everything is using set track components. So it's all off the shelf. You don't need to worry about cutting flexi track or getting, electrofrog points and wiring them up. It's all basic starter layout ideas that can really get you going into the hobby. So yeah, I think number one thing, the Pico set track plan book. That's your first stop. Start with that, and then go on from there. And as I said, YouTube as well. I know Joseph, that model railway guy, has just done a video about coming into the hobby for those that got a model railway. So go seek Joseph out on that model railway guy and have a look at that video for ideas as well. And there are lots of other channels as well that will be out there to help you. So yeah, I think that's just a nice little cover whilst we await some news. Shall we move on to our main segment? And as it is the start of 2025, the wish listing season has begun. Shall we find out what people want to see this year?
Yes, let's.
Excellent. We're going to take a break. I think Father Christmas is retired. I don't know who's going to be doing our adverts now, but I was
Uh,
promised a new. I was promised a new one. I look forward to it, and here it is.
Sir, a delivery has arrived for you.
Bring it through, Wilson. This'll be my loco I sent to Emperor's Path.
Was it airbrush or oils this time?
Both. It's all very affordable.
Even for a poorly paid butler like me?
Oh, yes. Just remember, Emperor's Path Weathering.
Contact Sam at Emperor's Path via email at emperorspathcontact@gmail.com or Instagram at emperors_path. If it's not filthy, let's fix that.
Look at that.
Right then, we are back to talk about the most exciting thing of the year so far. It is only January, but Hornby will be announcing their latest range this week. If you're listening on the Monday, it'll be tomorrow. So we were asking over the Christmas period what you would like to see in 2025. It doesn't have to be from Hornby, it can be from any manufacturer in any scale. We just want you to know what your wish listing would be for the year, what you would like to see. We've had a few responses. And I think some people got a bit confused because there seems to be quite a few responses in regards to the podcast. So
we've got some constructive criticism coming our way, that's for sure.
yeah. So let's just cover it all and just dive straight in. I think I first started off with a video with Blue Peter music, which drowned out my audio, which was not that way when I put it together, but thanks to the wonders that is the Instagram editor, you don't know how your video is going to turn out until you publish it. So apologies if you couldn't hear me.
That's so true.
It's Russian roulette with that thing. It really is. So what responses did we get on that one? I'm assuming you've got it open in front of you because I haven't.
I do. Don't worry. I have it all open in front of me. So let's start with the top. So the first thing we did was we're going to be answering the questions on the actual post, and then we also put it out to Instagram as a question option. So effectively, people could submit their answers there as well. Also, we did say that you can contact us on our email as well. So if you missed this because you're not on Instagram, we did say this at the end of our last episode as well. So the option was on there. So I'm assuming that James either will be accessing our email shortly or has already accessed our emails.
Hang on, I got a new phone the other day, so it logged me out of all the email accounts.
That's fine.
I can't get back into Western Signalman because I can't remember the password, and it says send a code to Western Signalman, and I was like, well, that's no good then, is it?
Oh no.
So Western Signalman is dead. It's just Model Rail Replacement Podcast is
I've stitched James right up by saying that it's
that
we sent it to
it looks empty. There we go. Yeah.
Cool. So we'll start with St Saviour's Railway, formerly of Effingham Junction. Paul said that they would love to see them expand the smoke and steam range to their A4s, the Spam cans, and the Nelsons. So over the last few weeks, there's been a mixed reception of the different steam generator models that have come out. Some people saying they're not working, some people having no problems whatsoever with them. I saw Joseph from that Model Railway guys video on it, and the Black 5 for the steam generator looks fantastic, and it puffs with the sound on it as well. So it really, really good. Unfortunately, I've seen a mix of whether it's succeeded or not, but yeah, I mean, I'd quite like to see it in some of the other locos out there as well. Is there a particular loco you'd like to see the smoke generator in, James?
Yeah, do you know what? Yeah, let's be fair. It's early days for this technology. There's always going to be teething troubles. I'm not, I mean, good on Hornby for diving into this and going for it. I think it's great. We've always loved that idea of working steam generators on models. I remember back in the 90s, there was the 2800 class. It was like the first one I think my dad got, that when you put the oil in it, and obviously it would do the puffer smoke and you get the lovely smell of the oil and that. But the problem was that there'd be oil just deposited all over the loco, so it'd be all greasy and grimy. It's all over the track, so then you've got to keep cleaning your track. So it wasn't an ideal solution. And then Hornby have come along with this technology, and it's I think what I've seen, I haven't seen. I may have seen a clip of the back five actually off the top of my head, but I've definitely seen the P2, and that looked amazing. So I think, yeah, you know what? Give Hornby a little more time just to refine things, get everything working right, and I think this could be brilliant. Locomotive wise, yeah, definitely I think yeah, something southern region like a spam cam would be pretty good, and probably one of the easier models to fit the generator in, probably from the shape of if you went for an air smooth variety. And I think, yeah, the A4 has definitely got to be a winner, hasn't it? I think everyone love an A4, and then I might get a chance of getting hold of a Sir Nigel Gresley in BR Blue, which seemed to be like hen's teeth because everyone wants one of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they look great. I think it's something that, yeah, give it some time to work out the kinks, and I'm sure they'll be great. Fairford Depot said, could we get Sam being sensible in at least one episode? That caused enough controversy where everybody basically deemed that apparently I'm not sensible in our episodes. So, yeah.
Excellent.
I-
That surprises me because out of the two of us, I'm the one who's officially diagnosed ADHD. So you'd think the silliness would come from me, but
Oh, yeah, you got your official Christmas present to tell everyone.
oh, yes. Yeah. I'm sure everyone worked out what was going on there with our subtle episode titles, etc., and what was discussed. But the clues were there. But yes, it was made official. So I get to wear the sunflower lanyard legally now. So
Congratulations.
that's-
Telfie said they'd actually like to see an LNER K4 class. Now, off the top of my head, I don't know what this is.
yes, it's the no. Correct me if I'm wrong, but well, you can't because you don't know. I believe it is a Scottish-based locomotive. I think there's one left in preservation, and they look absolutely gorgeous. If it's the one I'm thinking of, I'll just double check very quickly, but I'm certain.
I've just had a quick Google of it, and it very much looks like an LNER loco, sort of at the end of when just as they were coming into the Big Four era. It's got that sort of almost the boxy look of some of the early steam locos, but it also has that new smooth. I'm trying to get my words out, but it looks nice. It's a Nigel Gresley loco, so
It's a Sir Nigel Gresley design. It was indeed designed for Scotland. It was for the West Highland Line in particular, so it was the locomotive I'm thinking of. To describe it looks wise, it'd be quite controversial to say. It looks Gresley in the face. It looks B1 in the body, I think, is probably so to combine Gresley and Thompson, which obviously Thompson despised Gresley. They weren't the best of friends, from what I understand from historical records, etc. But yeah, I think it's a great shout. It is a locomotive that is preserved, and it does run on the main line, so it does get around. So it'd be popular for the modern modeler and the the LNR and BR modeler, especially Scottish modelers, which we never look after Scottish modelers enough on here. We don't talk about enough Scottish locomotives, I don't think, but it's probably because we're very lacking knowledge. It's nothing personal. It's just we live Doon Sooth, so yeah. I think a K4 is a great shout. I think it looks absolutely splendid, and they're definitely. I think there's a market for it there. It's not my money going into making the model, so
Then Tom from Buggles Kelly Station says, from Hornby, a Beatles-themed Flying Scotsman train set and a Coca-Cola Pendolino. From us as a podcast, more of the same excellent content. So thank you very much, Tom. Tom, obviously a previous guest on the show, and also on our charity quiz that we did at the end of the year as well. So thank you very much, Tom. James, what do you feel about those announcements for Hornby?
Now, Tom's not the only one that made that comment, if I recall. I think the Flying Scotsman Beetle theme pops up again from someone else. So it must be a popular choice.
We were so...
Sarcasm and satire is rife within the hobby. I don't know. Hornby must sell these, right? Because they keep producing them. So someone must be buying them, right? Because otherwise they'd stop making them. They dipped their toe in steampunk. That didn't sell, and that was it. That was the end of steampunk. But I think we're probably on what, the second, third year of Beatles themed products and Coca-Cola themed products. Um,
I think with the Beatles themed and the Coca-Cola stuff, they're using very, very, very old toolings to make these things. So it's not
yeah,
like they're investing any new money. It's the paint job or the printing
yeah.
job that's going to be on it. So I'll be honest, I don't think they're investing a lot of money into it. But certainly the price tag that goes on top of it is not worth, even if I was a Beatles
There's
fan.
license fees to pay. You see, it's and at least at least they're not having to pay Disney. I mean, obviously the license fees is what killed the Thomas the Tank Engine range, isn't it? It's Mattel wanted too much, and Hornby said no, it's too expensive. So um, yeah, I don't know. Will we see those products? I bet probably not. But
I think we're going to see a Beatles themed thing, and I think we're going to see a Coca-Cola themed thing. I don't think that's out of the question.
I think maybe the Coca-Cola. I think the Coca-Cola is definitely a far more interesting range than the Beatles, personally. If I want to buy something Beatles, I'm going to buy a Beatles album and listen to their music. That's as far as my interest into the Beatles goes. I'm not really going to go out and get their posters and put them up on the wall. And that I enjoy their music, but um, they're not in my top 10 bands. I do. I have an appreciation for them. I do have a couple of Beatles albums, but there's other stuff if I'm buying posters and stuff, I'd rather put. But I doubt Hornby ever going to do a Slipknot theme train.
Oh, no, no. Well, Tom, that's your next thing that you need to do. You need to make a Slipknot passenger station or something like that. Uh, cool. So East Glasson Port Authority, they say that small industrial locos, more rapido wagons, as they're definitely the best out there, and more financial planning from myself, as in them, not me. So yeah, looking for more industrial locos and more rapido wagons, which I don't think they're going to be going anywhere anytime soon. The industrial locos over the last 5 years or so have just gotten better and better and better. I still dream about the Daypole Hawthorne Leslie and how it's possibly one of those locos I'd love to own, but I don't think I'd ever actually use it. But yeah, the industrial locos, I think they're doing well, and they sort of go from strength to strength. And rapido wagons, like there's always a good review on a rapido wagon, so I can't see there being any problems with either of those two wish list items.
No, no, definitely not. Yeah, I think it's a guarantee you'll see more wagons from Rapido by the fact that they were designing one at the NEC show. So that's definitely one on the way. Yeah, and the industrial loco is definitely growing in popularity. I think you've got the advantage that there's a lot more people that like to model preserve railways. And that's becoming a greatly increasing interest in the hobby. And it's probably more financially sensible to model preserve railway if you're trying to do a modern day what you see than to try and do the main line. Because being a modern image modeler in this day and age, you need deep pockets, I think. So
And space.
yes. So while modern image is very nice, industrial locos on a little preserved railway are definitely a great choice. And even I think industrial layouts are quite fascinating, and I'm glad they've sort of emerged in popularity because there's something interesting about them. It can get a bit samey when you're at exhibitions and you're seeing mainline after mainline after mainline, and it's all very good, lovely modeling, but it all falls into the same category. So when you've got a little bit of variety like that, it's good to see. And yeah, there's definitely that charm of the industrial locomotive. I can't think off the top of my head what one I'd like to see. I'm not massively aware of industrial locos, not in standard gauge anyway. I mean, I could probably reel off I'd like to see a Kerr Stewart Wren in 009. I think that'd be a great loco to see. But yeah, in standard, since Rapido announced the Magnal twins. I think that's the correct way of saying it. Apologies, just got it wrong. Those are the two I used to put in request forms to them all the time for that one. So I like to think that was my suggestion that got those models made. I can't think of any off the top of my head I'd currently like to see, but I'm sure a manufacturer out there has something in mind and will produce something that will look great. So yeah, maybe something from the Bluebell Railway, like Captain Baxter. There we go. That one pops in my head. That's a lovely little, or the one that I think they refer to as from the Cromford High Peak Railway that they've got. One of those logos could be quite interesting, but definitely, yeah, a good shout there, I'd say.
Telfie has also said another episode about signaling on the cards would be really good. So evidently, there's at least one person who wants to hear us talk about signaling more. So that's definitely something that we can look at doing in the future.
That's one positive to about the 100 negatives we got about. He's boring. I was trying to make it interesting. I was poorly. I was really ill.
People would have complained if we didn't do an episode. So you've got to make up your mind. Either we do an episode on something that not everyone's going to love, and actually I feel like it got lots of good feedback. So yeah, there's going to be a reoccurring theme about people wanting us to delve more on topics that we discussed previously. So that will be coming up. Next, Neil from Little Layouts. This
Hello,
one's
Neil.
this one. So yeah, Neil, previous guest on the show. Neil said that they would like more explosions, plot twists, and definitely car chases on the podcast. Here's one for you now. Boom. There you go. There's your explosion, Neil.
To be honest, Neil, if you can get us in contact with Netflix, I have been just dreaming up the most amazing Top Gear version of the Model Rail Replacement podcast, which I think would be just great telly. And we need to have a conversation about it. And yeah, and then I'll hopefully make enough, and I can buy a farm in the Cotswolds, and you can watch me muck about and screw things up whilst Caleb yells at me. That's my plan.
Fantastic. Steve from the British Railroader says more American stuff. Hashtag the British Railroader. That is Steve, the British Railroader, who once again was on our charity episodes. Thank you so much, Steve. We've done Australian. I don't think there's ever going to be. We're never going to say never on the American stuff.
No, I like American stuff. I like the look of American steam locomotives. I think they're so big. They look so amazing, and I quite enjoy modern day traction. The hardest part is telling the difference between the locos. I think like people say, well, EMUs look the same. Wait till you go and look at American diesels, and is that a -7 or is that I don't know what that is. So
I think the big thing about it is that the whole reason James and I are here on this podcast is because there were American podcasts already around for American railroading. There wasn't a UK-based one. So at the moment, we're going to do the UK stuff. That doesn't mean we're not going to talk about the American stuff. When we had Mitch on the show, we talked a lot about Australian models, and no doubt we're going to have someone who does American railroading. No guesses there. But I guess it's one of those things where we are a British model rail replacement podcast, and we have delved into other markets before, but our main thing is British modelling.
Are we British, or are we just more Thomas the Tank Engine? Because that's all we ever talk about.
That's true. That is one of the comments. We talk too much about Thomas the Tank Engine. Then some weirdo, Chris87 UK says, speak to a real train driver. Loud and clear, we hear you there, Chris. So we're going to get my friend Mark, who drives for Southwest Trains, on. Thank you very much. On to the next question. Sorry, Chris, I couldn't help myself on that one. Sorry, that wasn't
He
even
knows
James.
Joking.
Chris
I've told him the rules. He has to have a layout, and he hasn't got one in his house. So
then the Daryl Sharp. They said, well, actually, it's just a nice comment. They're just paying attention to this particular post. They're catching back up on all the episodes, so I assume that they are a new listener to the show. So thank you very much for coming along. Then Hanger_27, more 009, more branch lines, more rural and remote, and more car chases, obviously. So once again, this isn't necessarily a wish list of what people want from the manufacturers, or at least I hope not, but it's something that they want to see more on the show. So I don't think there's any fear of 009 not being mentioned on this show. Would you agree, James?
It may be a spillover topic coming from season 2. Usually we have a theme for each season. Obviously, O Gauge was season 1, but from our previous conversation before recording, I think the O Gauge stream is dead. 009 was definitely the theme of season 2. Yeah, I'm definitely working on 009 layout. Sam's obviously working on 009 layout. He's just released his video. Will it be video 2 by the time this comes out, or is it just video 1 for the moment?
Yeah, so video 1 is already out. Video 2 will be out shortly. Video 3 has already been recorded, and I am in the middle of recording video 4 as well. So yeah, 009's not going anywhere with us. I'm really, really into 009 at the moment, and I just want more ready to run locos to come out to accompany that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, the only sort of diverging route I'm going along is my interest in Somerset and Dorset has greatly increased over the last few months. So maybe a bit more of that. But yeah, there'll definitely be a bit more 009. I don't know how we're going to fit these car chases in. I don't know how we do a car chase on a podcast. I don't know. We sit in a car, we record, we do like what Francis does, where he's sort of chasing the Class 97s across the Cambrian coast or something like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Maybe it's that people want more of our sitcom, so therefore with the sitcom comes car chases.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, maybe they just got his part when he got in the car with Chris from Top Gear, and they were just chasing the train. I don't care what people say about Francis. He's the jammiest train spotter in the world, and I've got so much respect for how well he's done.
Oh yeah.
With a hobby that's been so frowned upon. And I just think he just does great things for the hobby.
Yep.
And he's very chalk and cheese. Not everyone's a big fan, but you know what? I think he's doing good things for us, and I really enjoy stuff like that. When he's got a celebrity like that, he's willing to drive a nice, real fast car just so he can sit in the back of it and record a train. You think, yeah, this is great. This is great. So,
this is the sort of stuff we need. So moving on to the responses on our question. So Stockbridge Station says more Intercity Mark II D, E, or F. I'm not fussy. I'm there with you on that one. So for a very long time, Hornby have been the only people to make the Mark II E's, and that's not true actually. Bachmann have done it as well. But it's that sort of thing of I've said this to James before, and I think I've said it on the podcast. I think the Mark II stock, rolling stock of coaching stock, which is one of the vast used rolling stock for the 80s, 90s, and even still today, there's a massive gap in it where there's not enough of it to go round, if that makes sense. And I think more of that is definitely needed.
It's a high demand market, isn't it? And it's very, very difficult if you're modelling that period to try and find those coaches.
Then Tranton Model Railway says the LNWR Claughton class, the Claughton class.
Yes, the Claughton. Yes. I think they ventured into the LMS period. I think they were scrapped by BR, but they would go very nicely with Bachmann's new LNWR coaches. There must be something LNWR related coming from Bachmann. If you're going to make coaches that nice, that expensive, you better damn well have a nice locomotive to pull them, I suppose. I know there's a few options out there, but yeah, the Carl. I can't pronounce it either now. That locomotive, I know exactly which locomotive it means, but very difficult to pronounce.
Very nice. It looks a little bit like the Turbomotive-esque stuff for me, where it's got the slightly lower down running plate. I'm going to pretend that I know what I'm talking about, but yeah, looks very, very nice. If it feels like we're brushing through this a lot, it's because there's a lot of people who have commented. So if it feels like we're brushing past certain things, I do apologize, and I'm sure James will tell me if I'm going too fast. So Greg from Ebsworth Street, once again, Greg, previous guest on the show. Thank you, Greg. 444s, which are the express style EMUs that run here on the south coast with Southwest Trains. I'm not sure if they run via any other operators, but they are the 5-car units that go up to Waterloo from Portsmouth, Southampton, and places like that. A 442, which I think the world is crying out for. The 442s were an EMU that was made out of old Mark III rolling stock.
I'd be surprised, really surprised, if we don't see one of them in the next few years. There must be someone working on it.
It's
Like you say, it's so popular and cried out for.
and because it's based on the Mark III rolling stock. There are Mark III rolling stocks already out there or being developed. So
Mhm.
yeah, or a 458 or 707. So other Southwest trains based stuff. So London based stuff. There's I think it goes a little bit north of the Thames on that one. But yeah, basically, Greg wants more EMUs, Southern EMUs, and I'm here for it personally.
Yeah, what you're talking about for most of that.
It's just numbers.
Yeah, don't have them.
73082 Camelot fan, all one word. To get another Bluebell loco that I don't have yet. So I'm not entirely sure what Bluebell locos you do or don't have, Camelot fan, but I'm sure they'll bring some more out. That's the best hope I can give you, I'm
Well,
afraid.
we covered it a little bit there, didn't we? You know, like a Captain Baxter or a Cromford, or I think the Adams Radial's already been covered. Obviously, you've got your Terriers in regards to Stepney and Fenchurch, West Country, and you know they've got to Keith. No, I'm not going to say the name because I'll get it wrong. But I know which logo. In my mind, it's a rebuilt West Country. No, Battle of Britain. It's Keith. It's a Keith Park, I think. Anyway, yeah, so yeah, I think it's probably one of the more unique locomotives on the Bluebell Railway that have sort of been preserved in the early days. So yeah, probably something like the High Peak Cromford or or little Captain Baxter, which is a delightful little loco, which I've seen at the Bluebell Railway, and when it was brought over to the Didcot Railway Centre at the DB shed, they have a transfer road where the locos get dropped off to be taken to Didcot, because obviously Didcot's an island in the main line, so to speak. So everything has to be sort of transported across. And yeah, it was sat on the siding there one day and just looks so cute and delightful. So yeah, maybe we'll see something like that, and that would tick the industrial locomotive box as well.
Very nice. Upwell and onwards, podcast related. Just keep doing what you do best and have fun. Thank you very
So
much, dude.
you didn't do what he asked then immediately.
I immediately ignored him, which anybody who is hearing this part knows that we've had to edit that because I can't speak like a real human. But thank you very much. Thanks. It's always nice to have good feedback. Chalklington Station on Instagram. Bachmann to finally announce their new Turbo Stars and more modern EMUs and DMUs. I know James and I have spoken about this definitely between the two of us. We think that the Turbo Star family it's such a big part on our rail network, and we're surprised that out of all of them, that's one of the few that hasn't been done yet.
He announced. They announced them ages and ages ago, because they were going to cover I remember some of the Chiltern versions that were going to get covered, and yeah, they just seem to have disappeared. I think I know how long ago it was because it was the last time I bought a Bachmann catalogue, which they obviously stopped doing. So yeah, it would be nice. Would be nice to see them. I think the current tooling's a little, they're not bad models, but they are a bit dated. What happened to that older tooling, I don't know. It would be nice to see a more cheaper range of models. I think that's something the market definitely needs. I mean, I don't know how viable that is, and with a rather large second-hand market rapidly growing, I don't know if it's worth it. But yeah, definitely need to see the Turbo Star family coming in, and the
Great.
Electro Star family.
Yeah. Turbo Stars, Electro Stars are, yeah, well, we're coming up to that. So from Robert Ramster, 91, that the hobby becomes a little bit more affordable for the average pocket. Without trying to sound too doom and gloom, I feel like we're on this weird cusp where it is going one way or the other. And I'd love to say it becomes more affordable, but I don't even think we have enough time to sit and talk about that, James. Am I right?
Yeah, yeah, it's. I think I can't remember what episodes I've put in for the schedule for this season. I think we may have one coming up where we discuss what could be the pitfalls of the hobby in regards to what you want to model and the cost behind it.
Mm.
I think, yeah, it would be nice to see something that would allow the hobby to become more affordable. I think if a few years ago, Hornby Model World TV show looked at that train set that they were completely redesigning that they were going to get produced in India, if I recall.
Mm.
I don't know how much further that went because it doesn't seem to have gone to anything. Maybe it will be announced tomorrow. Who knows? But yeah, it is getting expensive, and I know lots of people are feeling the pinch on the hobby, and we don't want it to become an elitist sort of thing where only those with very deep pockets can enjoy it. It's nice if it can be a shared experience between everyone, but yeah. Yeah, I don't think we've got enough time, like you say, to really discuss it. But yeah, I think we'd all like to see the hobby become more affordable. I tell you what brought it to a reality to me was I was in a model shop the other week and I looked at picking up a bullied coach. Now, obviously, I've been modeling in modern image for some time, but as you say, I've got a bit of an interest in Somerset and Dorset again. So I thought it'd just be nice to get a couple of coaches to run behind some of the locos I've acquired. And the price of one bullied coach, I was like shocked. I was like, I couldn't believe, and I was like, yeah, no, I can't justify spending that much on this. This is so I have. I mean, I think apart from locomotives that have been in sales, everything else I bought second hand. If whilst I've been sort of looking at Somerset and Dorset stuff. Um, so yeah, I totally agree. It would be nice to see the hobby be more affordable and more achievable and within reach of more people because otherwise, it will die out and we don't want that. So, yeah, it's a fair enough comment, but like I say, it's probably would take a whole episode for us to just talk about the pros and cons of what is the current market, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it would take even 2 episodes. So moving on, Nemesis Rebirth has asked for 00, a 442, once again coming up, a 313, which RIP, we missed those on the South Coast on the Portsmouth to Brighton line, and the 377, the Electrostar family coming in there. So yeah, I'm looking at those 3 suggestions, and they are all very nice EMUs that I would love to see on my layout.
Do you know what I've noticed from the requests? I think we isolate the northern listeners because there doesn't seem to be a lot of northern requests for locos, and we're definitely, become that southern biased podcast that we've always been accused of being.
I don't think it's us being southern biased. And the thing is we have got some northern requests, but there is definitely a lot of EMU, electric multiple units, and especially southern multiple units that get suggested here. So I do apologize. But then I also think that that's because there's already the other stuff. There's so much LNER stuff. There's so much GWR stuff. Like that's my take. There are gaps in the market, and there's plenty of LNER locos. There's plenty of Great Western locos. There's plenty of Southern locos. There's plenty of LMS locos. But do you know what is missing? The stuff that runs nowadays or has run within the last 20 to 30 years that has been staples on the network. That is missing. And I think that's definitely something that has shown during this, which there's going to be a few repeats on here. So Pegleg90 says, time to get on with my layout. I think we all wish that we could have more time to get on with our layout. James and I have had a little discussion about that off recording, but the less said about that, the better. First mention of O gauge from Matt's Maritime and Rails, an O gauge ready to run Britannia class, which I think James, you'd quite like to see one of those. Is that right?
I'm all for a rebuilt West Country, but Britannia would be a delight to see as well.
So Flying Duck Media also says 5 Mark IIIs, wood and electric wire, and the O gauge 09 Gronk. So I think that's more of a wish list rather than a thing that you're hoping for. So Rachel, I do apologise. Whilst that is a good list, I mean, Mark IIIs from Hornby is probably a decent guess. 71D, Zach from 71D Productions says a model rail replacement coaster. Sorry, Zach, I'm afraid you've missed out, which sucks to be you. Is that the right frame of mind to be saying that?
You missed out. We're very sorry. But you could win a T-shirt.
You could win a t-shirt. Actually,
Yeah.
whilst we're here, I do need to do a quick shout out. This is completely off topic, but you know what? I knew I had to shout another person in this show and I'd forgotten. So Zach 71D and his dad, Railway Dad on Instagram, I owe John the biggest shout out ever because just before Christmas, the ignition on my car packed up and I couldn't turn the key. And as you know, probably over the Christmas period, I needed not only the family car, but our other car to do running around and stuff like that. And John from Railway Dad helped me out in a pinch. So you know what? In the middle of this segment, I'm saying thank you, thank you, thank you, John. I owe you a massive thank you, and I don't think I'll ever be able to fully repay you for how much you helped me out in such a short space of time. So thank you. On a separate note, Zach has also said that they want to see a 442 as well. So currently, I think 442's got the most votes currently.
It's the top of the list so far, isn't it? I think.
Yantlet Creek said for Hornby not to announce redundancies. I didn't think that was something that was going to be happening, but what a great positive way to start off the year.
Happy New Year!
Yeah, Happy New Year! Redundancies. Also,
I think we'd all like not to see people lose their jobs. So.
Yeah. It's a very. I'm going to assume that Yantlet Creek works for Hornby because it's such a weird thing to say. I don't want to see redundancies for a particular company, but we don't really want to see redundancies for any company, really.
No. I'm a union man, so I'm very much,
That's not a slight towards Yantlet Creek either. It is more just like we're just saying, please, no redundancies in general. That'd be really good.
Yeah, we are in agreement. In agreement.
Also, they've said that they want Procore, TML, Yeoman, PXA, Bogey, Open, Aggregate wagons as well, which as a modern image modeler for quite some time, I'm going to assume that James knows what that is.
Which ones were they?
They were the Procore, TML, Yeoman, PXA, Bogey, Open, Aggregate wagons.
I think. Hang on. Cavalac's not doing those ones.
They might be a wish list item rather than a.
That could be. Yeah. Maybe. I say, I'm sure all the Yeoman bogies have been covered. I think the PGAs are the only ones missing from the Mendip Quarry sort of 1980s, 1970s modelling. But having tried to convert Hornby and Lima wagons into correct looking PGAs, I can see why no one has made them. It's a minefield of different shapes, and it would be so expensive to produce. But it'd be nice to see. Would be really nice to see. But good shout. Good shout.
GWR Trom So, or Tom, as most people know him, has asked for railway accidents. Now, I'm going to assume that you mean railway accident stories rather than actual physical railway accidents to happen on the network. James, I hope that you agree with me on that one.
Oh, yes, most definitely. I don't want that on the network ever. That would be horrendous. And yes, it's very exciting in Thomas and read, and it's very fascinating to read about historic accidents, but we don't want any. No, we're quite happy with a nice, safe working railway. We have one of the safest in the world. So you can all sit in your train comfortable in the knowledge that you are in the hands of professionals.
That sounded almost like a real advert. Well done.
I know people from the company listen to this, so you have to be careful what you say.
We should get Ches in to do that. The Kiln line has said more narrow gauge, and I don't think there's any arguments between myself and James if any more narrow gauge stuff turns up, not only in the podcast, but also in ready to run from manufacturers. Any arguments there?
No, I've got no arguments there. I definitely think it's time that we saw a new 009 steam locomotive. We've been starved for too long, personally, I think.
I'll be shocked if something doesn't get announced in the Bachmann Spring announcement. That's the most likely place it's coming from.
Yeah, there must be something. I mean, obviously, Pico and Cato covered the large England, but that was basically just a larger version of the small England that they'd already produced. So it was just a case of just a bigger body shell on the same chassis, as far as I'm aware. And then the latest from Bachmann, I think, was probably steam engine wise the mainline Hunslets.
Yes. No, the Bagel Dory, that little diesel. Although that's not steam.
Yeah, diesel wise, that's their last locomotive. Yeah, but steam wise, I think it was the mainline Hunslets. I can't think that. pretty much got everything ready to run by Backman. So, but, yeah, I'm not aware of anything else, but definitely, I definitely like to see some more 009 stuff. As I said, probably the Kerr Stuart Wren, I think would look really nice and a real challenge for any manufacturer to make because they're so tiny. And I think Tom Rolt from the Tanaclin, because I think that's the only one that won't be covered. I doubt we'll ever see an Ivo Hugh in the Bachman Thomas range, so that would be a nice one to see produced. Just so you can have that logo, because obviously if you want the Tanaclin logos, you can buy the Thomas ones and various aftermarket parts to get your logos there. A nice rail car. I think something 009 rail car-ish would be quite cool as well.
Okay, I look forward to that. Also, Rob from the Kiln Line, previous guest on the show as well. So thank you, Rob, for commenting on that. And I know Rob's probably more interested in NG7 or the ON30 narrow gauge stuff, but any narrow gauge stuff is always a delight to see.
In fact, he made a Tom Roll, if I recall, with a chassis and an aftermarket kit.
Yeah, a Daypole little steam engine.
Oh, a B4, wasn't it? Or something.
I think so, yeah. And then converted it to Tom Roll. Did a really good job on it as well. So hats off Rob on that one. And then ECM Electrics, so East Coast Mainline Electrics, I think, if my abbreviations are correct. Some of the best. If you look at Danny for the Southern rolling stock, ready to run stuff that needs to be done, and how Danny is a fantastic. East Coast Mainline Electrics do a lot of the northern or north of the Thames stuff, and on par with the sort of work that Danny does on that. So if you haven't already, go check out East Coast Mainline Electrics because their work is outstanding. They've asked for an LNER 225, an Electrostar, and a Eurostar done properly. And I think a Eurostar is definitely one that a lot of people would be interested to see, whether it's in or out of a train set. I think.
Obviously that Hornby one is very long in the tooth. I remember me and my brother very excited when it first came out when we were kids, and he got the HO one that they did with Youth, which was never a great runner. And obviously Hornby then a couple of years later brought out their RO gauge version, and that was that. There was never anything really advanced on it. There was a couple of centre cars, but not the whole collection. I think I remember reading Simon Kohler wanted the restaurant car and that to go with it, but I think maybe the costs were too high. Maybe I'm not sure. If we ever see one in OO gauge, I don't know. And which Eurostar as well, I suppose these days, because obviously they've got I can't remember the numbers, but obviously they've got the older Eurostar and the newer Eurostar. So sorry, I can't remember the class numbers off the top of my head. I think 373 for the Eurostar.
Do we class it as the one that went out of Waterloo or the one that went out of St Pancras? Is that the way to define which one it was?
It's the easiest way to do it, isn't it? Yeah, the originals that came out of Waterloo. If we'd ever see a new one of them, I don't know. It would be nice, and if they've got the East Coast Mainline range of the 225 in GNR, they've got the HST in GNR. It would be very nice to see a Eurostar in GNR to go with that. I remember seeing the GNR Eurostar and just being amazed. It was just like was at Biggleswade Station, and this Eurostar just comes tearing through. I didn't even know they were on the East Coast. And I was like, "What's a Eurostar?" Yeah, amazing. It'd be great to see a model form. I don't know if there's a market for that, but yeah, it's a good shout.
Yeah. Tom's Modeling Corner, it says Model Replacement Podcast gives out their own badges. I think we've always talked about more merch. More merch is good. I previously to Christmas ordered some more stickers for us. So if you do see myself or James out and about, you can always approach us for a sticker. And I'm going to be at a lot of shows this year, at least weathering and stuff. So that's something we can talk about at a later date. Yeah, that's a sore wound that James doesn't want to talk about just yet.
Damn master.
JL Train Photo says more Bachmann Mark II coaching stock, which we've already said. I believe that's definitely a thing. Or a Curascale. I'd be happy with another run of the Mark II Network Southeast coaches or the Bachmann stuff as well. Just yeah, like
Yeah.
they just look great. Let's be honest.
And they're Mark Fives.
And the Mark Fives as well, but that's delicious.
Yeah.
I don't think I think that's the first time I've ever referred to something on this show as delicious. That was weird. Sorry, everyone. Ed Hughes 442 has asked for a class 442 Wessex Electric. So once again, it's the big request. It's what everyone wants for Christmas this year. The Railway Lad, it would be good to hear more how the hobby can help with mental health and well-being. Previously, we had said we had a big discussion about mental health, well-being in the hobby, and a very well-received episode. Yeah, I don't think there'd ever be a problem with James and I talking about it some more. It's just a case of trying to fit in where we can.
Yeah, we've got very busy schedules.
Yeah.
Just yeah.
The
There's
thing
lots to
we
talk about. Lots to talk about, man. I don't know. It's
I think
yeah,
the thing that James and I always have to reiterate is James, this doesn't just happen, this podcast. James and I have to actually do a lot of planning. And although sometimes it sounds like we're not doing a lot of work, we've always wanted this podcast to be something special, and we do put a lot of planning in behind it. So sometimes if you make a suggestion, it's not that we're ignoring it, it's that we just don't have time to fit it in just yet at this particular moment in time.
Yeah. I didn't realise how little time we had for guests until I put the schedule for season 3 together and realised that we actually only had room for 3 guests for this season. I was just like, I thought we'd get more people on. So that's probably why the queue's so long for people waiting to come on the show.
Yeah, sorry. And we definitely owe at least 2 people a big, massive thank you and the chance to come on to the show. So as well as other people as well, but we definitely owe at least 2 people a massive thank you for helping us out towards the end of last year. Nick Pitchley, 1984, Mojo to finish my layout. No one sells that. That is far too right. Trying to finish a layout is quite difficult at the best of times, and sadly.
I saw a film where someone managed to acquire some Mojo, and it worked for them, but I'm not sure if that was based on a true story or not.
Ropley in Double O Gauge, someone to finally do a U class. 1 second whilst I just Google the train I know nothing about, a U class.
Yeah, it's southern region locomotive. Definitely missing from the fleet. In fact, I think I need a U class because I'm just going to check my list of locomotives that ran on this and S&D, and I'm pretty certain that's one of them I want after for a miscellaneous.
Oh yeah,
Yep, I'm with him. I want a U class as well. Yep, I'm absolutely with it.
There we go, sorted. It's coming. The workbench for a Cura scale to stop delaying the BR Green 31s. I know there's been a bit of a problem. I think the 31s out of all of the Cura scales releases has been the weird one where the liveries have been staggered, which is a new thing for them. Am I right in saying that?
The 37s used to come in batches of colour. So I don't know. Maybe it depends on the manufacturing process. I remember when the 37s first arrived, the first batch, you had the regional railways and Concrete Bob, I think it was that one, the Intercity, and then it was another one, and the ones I'd ordered were way down the line, so they were all announced at the same time. But yeah, they didn't arrive until like 3-4 months after the first batch arrived, which can be quite frustrating if you're sort of a YouTuber that wants to do a video on that sort of thing and everyone else got the right livery at the right time, so they get to do their video first. But that's the way the cookie crumbles.
Yeah, sad times. Cool. So moving on to the next ones then. So Telfie, quite a few comments from Telfie on this one. They'd like to see a top 10 do's and don'ts of model railways for beginners, which is definitely something that we could look at in the future. It's not off the table. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. Don't do a podcast. It takes up too much time. That's
Feel really wanted right now. I feel really wanted and appreciated right now. Iron Wrought Hugh says more industrial 040s, 040 saddle tanks. I don't think there's going to be any shortage of any industrial locos, as we've already said on there. John of Winterfell. Sometimes trying to read these Instagram names in one go is quite difficult, especially when you're like me and you're terrible at reading. Tips for designing a new layout and wiring for beginners. So a lot of this is coming down to things that people want to see on the show, which we're very appreciative of, because giving us ideas is always welcome. I think designing a new layout is definitely something that we want to talk about in the future because both of us have designed new layouts at least within the last 5 years. So it's certainly something we can move forward talking about in the future. Would you agree?
Yeah, yeah. I've written a book on design and layouts that I could actually put together to make a book. I've done so many designs, which was my intention, but as we've previously established, I have attention span problems. So,
Yes, yes, I know.
I may produce a book in the future, and I may have to see if someone will publish said book. But yes, maybe I can help you out there. You just might have to wait. All right,
Ooh, squirrel!
that's it. I got a T-shirt that said that.
Did you actually? Amazing.
Yes, ADHD. Welcome to. Oh, look at squirrel.
Uh, Finsborough, Finsborough N-Gauge. More N-Gauge, please. I don't know if that's in terms of stock coming out or on the show. James is your N-Gauge man because I don't own any N-Gauge. So
Yeah, yeah. I built many N-Gauge layout, and it's what the boy currently has in his room for space saving. In fact, he's very excitedly working on a little project at the moment. I don't know, you know the little tiny tables are about £9 in IKEA. That's
Mhm.
the kids range.
Mhm.
So we got a spare one of them. We got nowhere to put it at the moment. And I looked at it and I went, I reckon you could get a layout on there. He's gone and got the box of Engage track out and he's laid it all out and he's designed a little layout to build on there and it does fit. So yeah, that's something we might look at in the future. So yeah, definitely. But yeah, more Engage products. I don't know what the Engage market's crying out for, to be honest. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, if you want more Engage, you have to let us know what more Engage you want because
Yeah.
I just
It's a
buy.
very open statement.
Yes, it's yeah. I'm afraid we buy a lot of second-hand Engage. We just buy what's affordable. Do you know what? If I could ask the manufacturers for anything to Engage, it would be an affordable Engage range for smaller hands. Like Graham Farris using that older tooling to make models. Because we picked up the 94XX second-hand. Tony's Trains had it and I think Tony sold it to me for £35 or something like that. One of the best models I've ever bought in Engage. It's not brilliantly detailed. It's a die-cast body, and it's sort of the older chassis. It runs honestly of all his locos, apart from a couple of ones where he's gone and bought a really nice Farish modern day. It's one of the best Engage locos for a tank engine. So yeah, if they could produce more stuff like that, that'd be great.
And possibly, James might disagree with me on this, the best username that has commented on here, Tiddlesbury 00. Tiddlesbury
Tiddle-
00.
I was going to ask, was the last one? Did you say it was John from Winterfell?
John of Winterfell.
Oh yeah, so it was Jon Snow then.
Yeah, it's Kit Harrington asking the
I
question.
knew he was a railway model. I could tell. Just
But Tiddlesbury 00 have asked for a cross-country Voyager in 00 gauge. I don't think that's going to be far off, is it?
it's got to be reaching a new tooling. Yeah, the one that's been it's been on the market for a very long time. It's not a bad model, but it's definitely got its flaws. I think it could benefit from being electronically coupled between all the coaches. Yeah, it's probably going to see something like that. I think it's been a very long time, and a lot of people have been sort of saying that it never gets announced. And I think the reasoning behind that is I think there's a suspicion that there is a new one on the way, so he may just get his wish at some point.
And then Luke Gaki. We had this problem when we did our last back to season episode with a Q&A. More steam locos, screw electric. Well, thank you, sir. I think you'll find that you can go and start your own Steam-based podcast. Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, if he wants to be, you want to be pedantic. Well, technically, they're all electric because they're models. Even the live steam stuff still requires the electricity to boil the little kettle in the tender.
Yeah. See. Anyway, yeah, more steam locos. It's a very vague thing, but don't get me wrong. I mean, in the last year since we started this podcast, I've purchased or traded quite a few Steam locos, so it's not a diesel electric only podcast. But
In fairness, I think when Bachmann did their last announcement, there was a bit of rejoicing from the Steam community because it'd been so long since Bachmann had announced something Steam. So there's probably is some basis behind that comment, but
I,
there was
I,
no need to dig at the electric fans like that.
yeah, come on, leave us alone. All right, we didn't do anything wrong to you. We patiently
It's
sit
hard
and
enough.
wait.
It's hard enough in the hobby to be an electric fan as it is because
Yeah.
there's no rules.
The biggest problem with being an electric fan is not only are you in a minority, but you're in a minority of a minority because you have to pick either overhead or third rail. So you're
Yeah.
even more ostracized because if you pick the wrong form of electrification, there's at least another 50% of the other electric people who hate you.
Yes. Yep. It's a dog eat dog world out there.
Yeah. Blooming pantographs. Logan C was here. I believe that's so Logan C was here, but just spelt was. Maybe discuss how model railways are shown in social media. When I initially read this one, I, I found it quite difficult to work out what Logan was actually asking. And the only thing I can assume is that on social media, it's very easy to see a few bits from particular layouts. So the first layout that comes to my mind with this was Sanford East. Once again, another previous guest. Hi, Rich and Ollie. They do a really, really good job of when they take photos of tricking you into how small their layout actually is. And on social media, you can effectively believe that the layout is much smaller. Sorry, much larger than it is. When actually, if you took a picture of the whole thing, it's very easy to go, oh, that's actually a much smaller layout than I thought. That's how I've perceived the comment.
Yeah.
Is that how you're perceiving it?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's a lot of that. Yeah, I think we all know that nowadays the way that model railways are getting designed is that you are not just designing it for yourself, but I mean, Everett Junction is a perfect example. You're designing it for the camera. So what will look good on camera and how things are seen. And I think it's a bit like when Railway Modeler used to do this where they put an article in and there'd be a layout, and you think, oh, that looks great. I wouldn't mind building a version. And it was usually the smaller layouts. So you think, I could build something like that, and there'd be no track plan. And then you look at it and you go, well, how did they get the fiddle yard in there? How did they do that? And yeah, sometimes, in particular, magazine articles, I do look at layouts and wonder what fiddle yard they're using. How did they get around these problems? And they never cover it because obviously they like to put the nice photos of all the lovely scenic work and that. But sometimes it's useful to see the behind the curtain, so to speak. So I think that's what he's referring to there.
Yeah.
Maybe how you go about representing your layout on social media and stuff like that. Quite a broad topic, and maybe something we can look at in the future. Definitely.
Yeah, I agree. Platform 21MR, which I believe is Platform 21 Model Railway, Fiddle Yard 2.0 episode, and or perhaps an episode focusing on layout, wiring, and point motors. The Fiddle Yard episode has been, I think, I think it is the top episode that we've ever done, the Fiddle Yard episode. It's always the most popular one.
I'd have to go back and listen to it to remember what we talked about to do.
I think if you looked back at it now, it was quite messy, I think, in the grand scheme of things. You'd almost have to do a separate episode for each different type of fiddle yard, I think. I think we did a broad discussion of what types of fiddle yards you can get. But we didn't necessarily go super in depth on any of them. We just talked about the different ones that are available. But Fiddle Yard 2.0 has been one that's been mentioned to me a couple of times in person as well. So, I don't think Fiddle Yard. I think if we were going to go back to an episode first, probably Fiddle Yard would be our first one, right?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I mean, obviously we've got questions lined up if we want to get guests back on as well, haven't we? We've got a whole new set of questions. But yeah, it's finding the time and the scheduling because we've got a lot. Maybe we start doing exclusive Patreon episodes and you just have to get them on there because what people want finding time is going to start eating into our own time and it's you're gonna have to pay us. That's what I'm saying.
I think that's the thing is at the moment, James and I have to work our normal jobs whilst also fitting this in and also having families. So we have to try and work out what we can fit in and stuff like that. But yeah, Fiddle Yard 2.0, I think if we were going back to an episode, that would be the first one to do, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Wiring, on the other hand, I don't know how well that would go down. I hate wiring. I think you understand wiring a bit better. I can solder, and I think that there you go. That's the wiring episode done. I think we've pretty much covered it there.
I think wiring, very much like signaling, is almost quite a visual medium. You almost need to see, because we could sit here and talk about the X wire, the Y wire, the A wire, the B wire, and stuff like that. But it's quite difficult without being able to show people.
Yeah,
But
we'll have a
giving,
think about that one. We'll have a
yeah.
think about that one. See if it's podcastable.
Flying Duck Media. So Rachel has said about doing a modeling challenge that not only myself and James can take part in, but also those listening at home can take part in the series. That's certainly something we could have a look at. Maybe I think James and I have spoken about doing sort of shelf.
Yeah, we thought about it before. But I've obviously nominated you for the TMC challenge for this year. So hopefully you.
And I get to bring a lackey, so I can bring you along.
So they can, they'll be getting in contact with you shortly, I'm sure.
Please,
that was quite
TMC.
cool, actually. If anyone hasn't seen that, the TMC challenge, it's had Jenny Kirk was on it, and Iron Horse, Tom Buggles Kelly, Laurie, and yeah, I found it quite enjoyable. So
Peachy TT as well.
yes, Peachy TT, yes, yeah. So,
it was a really enjoyable. I think the thing that didn't come across in the way it was delivered was that each person who was on there was filming their own separate bits to it. So you could watch the same episode, but it would be done from a different perspective. So if you watched Laurie's episode, it would be different to Tom's episode. Whilst I think a lot of the B stock footage that is being used is the TMC guys were just filming a lot of what was going on, and they were able to use a lot of X footage, Y footage. But I watched Tom's one. I'm very biased, and it was a really, really good series. They went and they basically split to two teams and had to build a little diorama, and I thought it was very cool.
yeah, it was very enjoyable. Yeah, we can look at that. We can definitely look at that and see what we can come up with. Again, it comes down to time because we've got lots of projects and stuff going on, and so it's all down to time. But there we are.
Yeah, exactly. So moving on, Diggity Bay 41, better adverts, question mark. That must cost a fortune. And then Diggity Bay also has an...
Did you see the Unlucky Pugs video? I think that chap did the voice of Duck in the Oliver episode.
Oh, yeah. Well, Ches did mention that he had a big gig coming up.
And uncanny otherwise.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'm happy for him that he's actually gone out and found some decent work rather than me paying him in half-eaten Watsits. But yeah, you know what? A big shout out to Lord Chester Worselton III and getting that prime spot on the Unlucky Tugs video. A massive, massive well done for you. And I can't wait for the IMDb page to say that Lord Chester Worselton did the voice of Oliver, because that was really good. Oh, was it Duck? Yeah. Oh, sorry, Duck. The voice of Duck. It was really, really good stuff. So, Ches, from James and I, well done on that one. Great job. And if you haven't already, go check out the Unlucky Tugs video on Oliver, the Great Western Engine, and make sure that you give Lord Chester Worselton the shout out that he deserves for his voice of Duck.
Indeed.
Diggity Bay also said an interview with Beechcroft Model Railway, which is Grandad's Train Room on YouTube. I don't know if you're aware of Beechcroft Model Railway, but Grandad's Train Room is an interesting channel. It's not one that we've ever given a shout out for yet, not because we don't like it, but they're currently. I don't know if you're aware of it, James, but they're basically trying to build a helix going from a layout that's already been built. So it's quite an interesting way of doing it, rather than sort of scrapping the whole thing and restarting. They've got a layout, and they're basically building a helix that is coming off an already built layout. So it's an interesting thing.
Interesting, yeah. Okay, well, I have to look at that one.
So if you do know Beechcroft Model Railway, tell them to get in contact with us, because we can add them to our list, but it might be a while.
Yes.
Upwell and Onwards also said 009, please. No problems there. Ebsworth Street, Greg has said, talk about how clubs put on exhibitions and how important it is for them to keep members. We have talked about clubs and exhibitions in the past. It's certainly something that we
I think it
could.
was with Greg himself.
Yeah, we talked about it quite a bit, and that's certainly something we can talk about in the future. James Delaney 18 said, talk about DC versus DCC, and I think that's a massive topic, which is one that people have asked for before.
I thought you were about to say DC versus Marvel. Wrong podcast.
It's always about Deathstroke, always about Deathstroke. And the sort of mix and match between sometimes you go DC and sometimes you go DCC, don't you?
Yeah, I'm just not.
You're invested enough for some of it, but not enough to set up the whole layout as DCC.
Just can't. You know what? I need to find a controller that I'm happy with, and I've never found a DCC controller that I'm completely happy with. And I've had issues where I've tried to program stuff and screw chips up, so I kind of shy away from it until I've got that controller. But there's a really good one is so expensive. I don't want to just go out and spend all that money and then go, oh, it's another controller I'm not happy with. So that's kind of why I shy away from it. So yeah, maybe it is a good topic to discuss in the future.
Yeah, I definitely think so. And from my point of view, each time I've come back to the hobby, I've come in going, I'm not going to do DCC. I'm just going to stick to DC, keep it simple, and then I end up doing DCC. So it's always interesting to see different points of view on it. So I think that's why it's interesting having you and I talk about it, because we both have different uses or different styles of how we do and don't use it. So definitely one for the future. Fairford East, Lyndon managed to get mentioned another time in an episode. Exhibition planning and running. Obviously, James and I don't run exhibitions, so that's something that we can't necessarily talk about. And I know what he's edging for here. And you know what, Lyndon? You can go play with traffic because I know what you're edging for. It's not going to happen, all right? Because if we let you on just to talk about planning, Greg's going to kick off, and nobody needs Greg kicking off at us. I need to stay in Greg's good books. Anyway, sorry. There's gang wars going on in the background here. But also, on a serious note, discussions on Southern EMU stock 80s or 90s, which for me, I don't think is an issue to talk about. And I know James likes visually a lot of the EMU stock, but it can be quite difficult to just talk a lot of the numbers. So
I have nice memories of going to Brighton and the slam door stock. Oh yeah, I've covered my bit.
There we go. And that is all of the questions, requests that people have put forward. I think James and I wanted to hear what people wanted for the coming year in model railway form, and it definitely turned more into what people want from the podcast, which is great for our egos, but not necessarily for the idea that we were doing this off the back that the Hornby announcement is tomorrow for those of you who are listening to this on the Monday. But
yeah, indeed.
Still good.
I think one of the stories I put up had a few answers, but obviously we've been fact that we're about to end our second Zoom call on our very cheapskating 40-minute time limit means that we've probably hitting well over an hour of these. So thank you very much to everyone that did get in contact. I know there was a few others that did reply to one of my stories. I know there was a lot of people that put disappointment. They were expecting so. Which is a bit of a paradox, because if you don't get what you want tomorrow, then you're going to be disappointed, which means that you did get what you want. So, you're sort of twisted in there. I think as a final tie-up, it's just, to cover what we think the new year might see. I reckon there's an 8F coming. There's so much rumour around there's an 8F. I'm suspecting Curious Scale, or possibly two. I reckon Hornby and a Curious Scale will be one of those situations again. I would like to see Blue Peter come in her blue livery as she is at the moment. Thus, the music on the video that I did. Which that was my little hint there of what I was expecting. Maybe return the Hornby Class 91 in the current LNER livery. I think that's something modern modelers would be looking forward for. And I would like to see, a retooled West Country Battle of Britain or Merchant Navy, because I think that they're screaming out for a retooling. But yeah, that's pretty much what I suspect is coming along. I've heard rumour that Curious Scale were doing a HST. I don't know how much truth is behind that one, but that would be interesting. Sam, is there anything that you think you'd like to see in these announcements of the coming year?
Uh, like to see? I mean, if I'm really honest, there's two things I'm waiting for this year, and that's my Acura Scale pannier tank and my Acura Scale Class 50. I'm always pleasantly surprised when you do get an announcement that's something you weren't expecting. I definitely sit with a lot of our listeners who have said the 442, the Wessex Electrics, the Flying Pigs. Um, they are such a beautiful loco. I would love to see that be announced in the next year or two, mainly because I know it's going to be somewhere in the region of, let's be honest, based on pricing, it's a 5 car unit, so you're probably looking at £400 to £500. So I'd like at least a preemptive warning so that I can save my pennies up for it because I do really want one of those.
Yeah, that's gonna be a tough one if they say it's Bachmann announce it and then when it's spring announcement, because obviously they go, right, this is the spring announcement, they'll be coming in the next 3 months. You're like, oh, where am I going to find that money?
Yeah.
But yeah.
However, in terms of what Hornby announced tomorrow, or at least I wouldn't be surprised if they obviously had their class 432s, 342s? I can't remember. 423s. The class 423s, the Southwest trains and the Southern liveried ones come out last year. And they came out not long after the announcement, but they were announced 2 years previously. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Network Southeast retooled version of that because the Network Southeast rolling stock is definitely cried out for more than the Southwest train stuff. And now that they've retooled the bodies and they're fantastic compared to the old ones, I wouldn't be surprised if they sort of redo it with Network Southeast branding on the coaches, but the new tooling for the bodies and stuff like that. I think that's, I'd say, a safe bet from my own want slash need, but I don't need to buy one of those. But I think that's something that they'd be sensible to do. Um, I do. I think we're going to see a really silly, something really old tooling that's absolute crap that's going to be painted in some sort of tat, and it's going to be there for. It's not going to be good for the modelers, but it will be good for the in quotation marks the collectors for it. So, yeah.
Sometimes it's a mystery why Hornby won't talk to us.
Well, I'm just being honest. Let's be really honest. Like, I mean, if it was a one-off, you could understand it, but 2 years in a row the Beatles stuff came out. So, I mean, it's not like I'm saying anything untoward and unjust about it. I'm just saying that what was released was tat. I have also on this podcast praised how good the Black 5 is and how good the retooled versions of the Class 423s are because I have two of them. So, they are really, really good models, and I'd love to see more rolling stock like that from Hornby, but also call a spade when it's a spade.
Fair enough. There we go. And on that bombshell, I think we'll wait and see what's announced tomorrow and talk about it next week. Hello there, dear listener. We thought we'd just take a moment to talk to you about our Patreon. For the last few weeks, Sam has been putting out an advert impersonating David Attenborough, trying to entice you to give us your money. And you were right not to do it. But now we ask you from the bottom of our hearts to follow us on Patreon.
If you do want to support us in what we do and you believe that what we do is good enough that you want a part of your money, you can find us on Patreon and you can start donating for as little as $1 a month. It's in dollars, it's in freedom credits, however you want to say it, but eventually it will just take the pounds from your bank account. And if you do want to support James and myself, head on over to Patreon. There's varying levels and tiers that you can do. And there's even a tier where I'll weather stuff for you and James gets the benefit of it. So why not support us on Patreon today?
Indeed. And that way we can get new microphones so you can stop complaining that you can't hear us. Right, well, that's it. We are back, and that was your request for this year. I mean, we were sort of talking about locos, but you wanted to ask podcast requests, so yeah, we've kindly talked about them too. You know what, Sam? You know what? I think that Hornby might announce tomorrow. I think they might do a 14XX. I'm just saying that.
You are such an ass. Yeah, James, you know what? I think that there could be a chance that they're going to announce a 14XX tomorrow. I think that is a really good call by yourself. I'm really glad that you had the foresight to come up with that idea and that thought. And you know what?
It was totally mad. I don't know where it came from. It definitely didn't come from the original attempt to try and record this, which was completely derailed, and we started again. It didn't
Which,
happen there.
which to clarify, yes, it's going on the Patreon. And it was a
Oh,
funny chat, but we went off on a tangent. And what usually takes us 5 minutes to finish an end piece, I think we were on a 10-minute segment.
yeah. This is taking far too long. Um, but yeah, we'll just have to see what will be announced tomorrow. And obviously what Backman will probably have their spring announcement soon. Curious Scale just do it all year round, and Daypole were very sporadic and just sort of whenever they feel like it. It's I've never worked out Daypole's pattern. You just never know when it's coming from them. I
No.
think Hellion might be the same as well, actually.
Yeah, Hellion and Dapol definitely have that feeling of we're just at a point where we're going to release it rather than doing what a lot of manufacturers do, and they try and aim for a certain period with a certain thing and have a little bit of lead time to it. So yeah, it's gonna be an interesting year for announcements. I think what would be interesting this year, let's see how long it takes me to fail doing this, is it'd be interesting if we wrote down everything that got announced as a new announcement for the year. Um, and see how many new announcements actually come in the year, because sometimes it's really easy to get mixed up between new announcements and things that have already been announced, but there's a new thing about it that's been announced. So it'd be interesting to see how many things and from what manufacturers. And we could do like an end of year thing where we go, right, so Scale announced 6 things, Hornby announced 42, and go off it like that. I think that'd be an interesting thing to do over the course of the year.
You could do that. I'm not doing that.
I knew you were going to say that.
that's that's way too much attention pay, I haven't got the energy or attention span for that sort of thing. But yes, it would be considering that they're trying to fit things within a year time frame. It would be interesting to see. Um, Probably more on the newer stuff if newer stuff is delivered within time frames. But obviously, manufacturers do come with these hiccups. Like the Transpennine 802, I think that was 2022 that was announced, and since then it's had a price rise, quite an incredible price. I didn't realise how much the price rise was until I watched Richard New Junction, and he said how much it was announced originally. I was like, bloody hell! That's I didn't even realise it'd gone up that much. So yeah, and then a few issues there. So you do get it now and again, but yeah, we're definitely interesting to see what the end of the year looks like. So, shall we have a look at the Model Railway exhibition calendar?
Yes, because new year, new calendar, and all that sort of jazz.
That's it. Yeah, you can get yourself a new calendar. I've got a little advert here for them. Talk about it. You fancy yourself a Michelle Keegan calendar? Go have a look on Etsy, or indeed the Lady Farmers calendar. There's a couple of recommendations that come up in this advert here. Anyway, we will go with this coming weekend, and we'll start on Friday the 17th with the Bolton Model Railway Society Open Day. It's at the Bolton Marketplace Shopping Centre on the first floor, next door to H&M at Knowsley Street in Bolton, Lancashire. Okay, and moving on Saturday the 18th is the Exeter Junction Model Railway Club, and they're having an open day at 9B Fatherford Farm in Exeter Road, Oakhampton, Devon. It's an open day for like-minded people. More than welcome to bring along stock to run, but bear in mind it's OO gauge and is DCC. Is DC for now. So yeah, here you are. Can bring your trains along to play with. Let's move on to the 18th. And oh no, hang on. We've got just the 18th. It's the Heart of England narrow gauge modelers with their monthly meeting. This is on the 22nd Rugby Scout Hut, the Kent in Hillmorton Rugby. So there's that too. On the 18th and 19th is Syston Model Railway Society and it's Leicester Model Railway Show in Birstall Social Club at 16 to 18 Wanlip Lane in Birstall, Leicestershire. The 18th and 19th also sees the East Lancashire Model Railway Charitable Organisation 18th Annual Model Railway Exhibition. It is cancelled. Do not go. It's not on. The 18th and 19th will see the City of Canterbury Model Railway Society at their Canterbury Model Railway Exhibition 2025 at St Anselm's School in Old Dover Road in Canterbury, Kent. That one is on. And that is all that is happening this weekend. Right then, Sam. suppose it's the first social media shout out of the year. What do you have?
So I am shouting out this year, or for the first one of this year, Tabletop Railroad. Now this sounds very familiar to a previous one that we've shouted out. I can assure you it's a different one. This one is interesting because they are designing their own hexagonal, basically a hex modular system. So it's a little bit in between the modular systems that we've talked about in the past, but also a little bit like the Hornbeat, the Pico-Rama style ones that they've brought out. But the idea is that it's an MDF hex, and then you could join other ones together.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very weird one, and I urge you to go and have a look because the idea behind it is very cool. I'm sure there could be someone within the UK who would be able to do it because it looks like it is an American account. But I like the idea behind it, and I did send this to you the other day as well. They made a little like a narrow gauge diesel shunter on a Kato chassis, but it was made out of Lego. So it was a Lego train on a normal train track. And I thought it was quite interesting, like how they made it, and I thought it was a cool little thing. It was a little bit different to the sort of stuff that we usually watch.
Well, yeah, I remember you sending me that. I was walking the dog at the time, so I opened it up. I'll look at that later, and then I completely forgot. So yeah, I'll have to have another look. So yeah, so it's that tabletop railroad, is it?
Tabletop Railroad.
Well, there we go. Well, mine is Melchester Model Railway. And this is a lovely little layout and set up in the loft. It's lower gauge, all set up and is set somewhere in Wessex. It was a name given by the author of Thomas Hardy to the market town of Salisbury. So there you go. Melchester Southern Region steam era railway set sometime in the 1950s with the occasional operation of diesel and electric logos. I do like this channel, and what's quite fun about it is that you do sort of get looks around the layout, and the person that owns the channel likes to do little stories with characters. There's a great one of my favorite ones is his Christmas his take on Christmas Carol with the Fat Controller. That was quite an enjoyable little watch. So that's I think that's how I first discovered it actually. But yeah, Melchester Model Railway is my shout out.
Yeah, it's a cool little channel, and I agree. I do like it's a little bit like we talked in an earlier segment about how you have layouts where they're actually smaller than you think they are, but because of how they're shot and how they're filmed and photos are taken, it looks really, really big. I'm a big fan because they do have, although it's in the BR green stuff a lot of the time, or the Southern green, a lot of the stock that they run is electric multiple units as well. So I'm always happy seeing that.
So there we are. That's our social media shout outs for the week. It just leaves us to sign off with our own social media shout outs, which you should know by now. But Sam, who are you on the internet?
Who am I? So you can find me, Sam, SBJ, Emperor's Path, on Instagram at Emperors_Path, or you can find me on YouTube, including my new 009 small mini video series, under Emperor's Path. James, how can they get hold of you?
Well, it's Western Signalman on Instagram or YouTube, but don't bother emailing me because for some reason, I know the reason. I've forgot the password, and the recovery account emails the account I can't get into. So that's dead in the water. Don't bother emailing. However, you can email the Model Rail Replacement Podcast at modelrailrp@outlook.com with anything you would like to get in contact with us about. Netflix, hey? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Otherwise, we are on Instagram, and as we said earlier, we were 10 people away from hitting the 1,000 followers on Insta. So yeah, it's almost t-shirt giveaway time. So yeah, if you want to, in fact, I've just double checked now. Since then, right, we're on 994. So we are 6 people away from doing a t-shirt giveaway. That's how close you are to getting a t-shirt. So if you want a t-shirt, get yourself onto Instagram and follow us on there. Otherwise, I think that's it for this week. All I can say is that hopefully we've been entertaining, informative, and have replaced your model railway, if only just for a little bit. I've been James, and with me has been Sam. Thanks for listening.
This service terminates here. Please ensure you take all of your personal belongings with you.